hospitalized, 1,000 in ICU, 675 intubated. That's up 6. By region, number 1, not a good thing. Mid-Hudson 4.29, Long Island 4.23, so they're very close. New York City 3.9, North Country 2.4, Capital Region 1.9, Western New York 1.96. Well, just to be specific, Capital Region 1.98, Western New York 1.96, Finger Lakes 1.7, Mohawk Valley 1.5, Central New York 0.9, Southern Tier 0.7, statewide 3.16. In New York City, Bronx 4.8, Staten Island 4.5, Queens 4.2, Brooklyn 4.05, Manhattan 2.43. Announcements today, which are a little complicated, but they're important. Starting tomorrow, March 10th, the eligible age group drops from 65 to 60 years old. So anyone 60 plus will now be eligible. Beginning a week from tomorrow, eligibility will expand to public-facing government and public employees, not-for-profit workers who provide public-facing services to needy New Yorkers, essential in-person public-facing building service workers. That includes public works people, social service people, child service, care workers, DMV workers, a lot of the CSEA employees, also election workers, etc. We're also announcing that beginning next Wednesday, March 17th, all providers can vaccinate anyone who's eligible to receive the vaccine. That means right now the local health departments have certain categories they can do. FQHCs have certain categories. Hospitals have certain categories. They will all be able to vaccinate everyone except for pharmacies. Pharmacies can only do 60 plus and teachers. Teachers is a federal mandate, part of Joe Biden's wanting to open school. Pharmacies are equipped to check ages, 60 plus, 65 plus. It's a driver's license. They sell cigarettes, etc. So they're accustomed to checking age. They're not accustomed to checking work group identification, etc. So pharmacies will just do age, 60 plus, and teachers who are also easily identified. We did a White House call. The White House basically will have a flat allocation for the next 2 weeks. We had that very large Johnson & Johnson surge last week that we're administering this week. That's why we opened the 24-hour mass vaccination sites, etc. There is now a flat 2 weeks where basically the allocation will stay the same. So our recipients also should expect a flat allocation because we're not getting more, so we don't have more to distribute. Last week of March and then into April, it should start to increase dramatically. And that's why we will be increasing our production capacity, our distribution capacity, in anticipation of that increase. So we're opening 10 new mass vaccination sites. We're reaching out to houses of worship to partner with us. We still have a racial disparity. I don't think any state is working harder at breaking down that racial disparity, but it still exists. So will have houses of worship that can actually be pop-up sites themselves. And we encourage houses of worship to come forward to do that. We're signing today the COVID-19 Emergency Protect Our Small Businesses Act of 2023 with a chapter amendment. The law now basically applies to businesses at 50 employees. We've worked with the legislature. We're going to increase that to 100 plus employees. And there's a further agreement that will further expand the protections to small businesses with 100 or fewer employees and businesses with 500 or fewer that were closed to in-person operations by executive order or Department of Health directive for 2 or more weeks between May 15th, 2020 and May 1st, 2021. So if you were closed by executive order, this bill will provide relief up to 500 employees. We had a situation with the Long Island Railroad where they reduced service due to reduced ridership. That did not work, certainly didn't work well. There are a lot of reports of overcrowded trains. We don't want overcrowded trains, especially during this period of COVID. So I'm calling on the Long Island Railroad to reverse what they've done, increase service. You don't want crowded trains, crowded platforms now. I understand the financial constraints. I understand there's a reduced ridership, but it's smarter to have fewer people on a train during this period, even if it's not cost effective. Overall, we've done 5,824,000 doses. That's about 94% of all the doses that we have. So we're running at a very high rate of what they call throughput, even with the tremendous increase of J&J. The Javits Center, Johnson & Johnson, the Javits Center over the weekend was the #1 mass vaccination site in the country. The State Fair was the second largest mass vaccination site yesterday with over 9,000 vaccinations. So these mass vaccination sites are highly effective, and literally they're doing more vaccines than just about any place in the country. So we're very excited about that progress. With that, let's take some questions.
At this time, to ask a question, you will need to press star 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that is star 1 to ask a question. To withdraw the question, just press the pound key. Your first question comes from the line of Marina Villanueva from Associated Press. Your line is now open.
Hi, Governor.
Hey, Marina.
Hi. I am looking to see if you're aware of a new allegation raised by the Times Union regarding a woman who said that you had inappropriately touched her at the executive mansion last year. And I was just also looking for a response from you if you had directed the deletion of the higher nursing home death toll from the July report last year.
Okay. First, I'm not aware of any other claim. As I said last week, this is very simple. I never touched anyone inappropriately. As I said last week, I never made any inappropriate advances. As I said last week, no one ever told me at the time that I made them feel uncomfortable. Obviously, there are people who have said after the fact they felt uncomfortable. Nobody told me at the time. The sense of people was they wanted an independent investigation by the Attorney General, and the Attorney General announced independent investigators today, and I'm going to respect that investigation that the Attorney General is doing, and the investigation will get the facts. Every woman has a right to come forward. I encourage that. Let the investigation get the facts, and we'll take it from there. On the DOH report, I would ask Beth if she would comment on that.
Yes, so we've previously commented on reports that there was an alteration or change in the data. No one from Chamber ever altered fatality data. There was a different data set that was analyzed, and ultimately the data set that was published confirmed the same conclusions that the unverified data set did, also confirming that the March 25th advisory was not a primary driver of deaths in nursing homes. And due to the lack of verification at the time that the report was being compiled, the smaller data set was used. And because that, too, is also the subject of an ongoing investigation, we cannot comment any further on that.
Okay. Thank you, Beth. Next question, operator.
Your next question comes from the line of Andrew Donovan from News Channel 9. Your line's now open. Please proceed.
Governor, two questions for you. In 2018, within about 3 hours, allegations against Eric Schneiderman came out. You called for his resignation. He resigned. Why doesn't that same expectation apply to you? And what have you told your daughters? How have you had the conversation with them? We've gotten to know them at your briefings. What's been your conversation with your daughters about these allegations?
Yeah, there's obviously allegations, and then there are allegations, right? And there's a spectrum of allegations. There's capital crimes, there's physical violence, right, down to more minor allegations. I told them what I told you, which is I never touched anyone inappropriately. I never made any inappropriate advances, and no one ever told me that they felt at the time that I made them feel uncomfortable or awkward. Women have a right to come forward. The answer here was, let's have an investigation and then get the facts on the actual allegation. That's the smart way. We have an allegation. Let's find out what the facts were. You can allege something. It might be true, might be not true. You may have misperceived. There may be other facts. So let's get the facts, and that's what the investigation does, and that's what the Attorney General is doing, and that's what we should all respect. Next question, operator.
Your next question comes to the line of Dan Clark from PBS. Your line's now open.
Hey, Governor, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, Dan.
Hey, Governor. Just wondering, with all of these allegations going, I know that it's obviously a year off, but are you reconsidering a run for a fourth term? I know that you had previously committed to doing that, but I know a lot of people in political circles are wondering whether you're going to go ahead with that fourth term or whether you're going to step aside.
Dan, first, today is not a day for politics, right? I'm focusing on my job. My job is vaccines, getting a budget done, rebuilding New York. Second, Dan, you don't know any facts, right? You know allegations. You don't know facts. Let's operate on facts. And we have an investigation, qualified investigators picked by the Attorney General. Let's get the facts, and then we can have a discussion on the facts. Let's take one more, operator.
Your next question comes from the line of Katie LeClaire from News 12, Long Island. Your line is now open.
Katie?
Moving on to the next participant. Hussein Borchardt from Hamodia.
Hello, Mr. Governor. I'd like to ask you about the claim by people in your administration that the reason you didn't release the full numbers is that they were preliminary. The administration releases preliminary numbers all the time, COVID rates, COVID positivity rates. How are we really supposed to believe that the reason that these were not released were just because they were preliminary? And I do have a follow-up.
Beth, you want to repeat what you said?
Yes. So the distinction between the two data sets is that the data that we reported for in-facility deaths is verified by firsthand knowledge. The out-of-facility deaths, there were concerns related to the potential for double counting and also a lack of ability to follow up and verify. So those questions ultimately have been answered. The overall number of deaths was always reported. That did not change. Then when we had verified the data, the numbers were rerun. The report is now updated and on DOH's website, and everyone can see from that analysis that the curves did not change and the results are still supported by both data sets.
Yeah. And last point, let me just add a little context because everybody forgets, so much goes on. You forget yesterday. The question was, did the March 25th DOH memo create more deaths at nursing homes? That was the question. That was the charge by President Trump starting last year. That was the constant political refrain. The March 25th memo was a mistake, caused deaths. That was the whole issue. Now, it was nonsensical on its face, right? Because the March 25th memo followed federal guidance, which everybody agreed to. If the federal guidance was wrong, why didn't they change the federal guidance? States were still following the same guidance. States still are following the same guidance. We were in the middle of overrunning the hospital system. The people were no longer contagious, but the charge was the March 25th memo created deaths in the nursing homes. That was the charge. The report responded to that charge with the accurate data. Once you say March 25th memo didn't create deaths, then whatever the number of deaths are in hospitals or in nursing homes, they are. And we always reported the total number of deaths. The question on the table was, did DOH make a mistake in the March 25th memo? And once you say no, which is what the report said, then whatever the number of people who died in nursing homes, whether we're 45th in the state or in the nation or 34 in the nation, that's not the question. It's, did you do something wrong on March 25th? And the answer was no. COVID came in from the staff. All right, thank you, guys. You have a very good day, and back to work. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect.